All right, guys, time for another update. I just had another round of testing done to see how bodies responded to my treatments, and this is where we're at. So, to be considered remission or complete stringent response, there's a couple different ways that they measure it. One, they'll look at the bone marrow. So, I had another bone marrow biopsy done, and in order, so they did a bone marrow biopsy, and then they look at my bones through an MRI to see how the bone lesions are doing. And then they look at the blood. What does the cancer look like inside the blood? And those are the three big measure markers that the doctors assess to determine response to the chemos and the treatments. So here's where I am. There is a high order degree of response they call MRD negative, which is minimal residual disease negative. And the way they look at that is in the bone marrow biopsy, if I have less than 0.001% cancer in the bone marrow, they'll consider that a MRD negative. When I was first diagnosed and tested in January of last year, I was at 47% in the bone marrow. And since all these treatments, I am now at 0.006% in the bone marrow. So I am not MRD negative, but I am really close. I am on my way there. Now, if I can get to MRD negative, where I'm 0.00 or less than 0.001, and if I can stay at MRD negative for at least 18 months, then the chances that I have a much longer life expectancy are much higher. People that can stay at MRD negative for 18 months have a 1 in 3 chance of making it for 20 years. So I'm in the running. I'm on my way to MRD negative. Once I can get there, I hold there for 18 months without relapsing or regressing. Then I'm in the running to be one of those few people that can make it for 20 years or more, and that's what I'm aiming at. And so they looked at the bones themselves as well, and all of my lesions have stopped growing. Many of the smaller ones have started to reduce a little bit. I have 3 pretty big ones: one in my skull, one in my sternum, and one in my hip. They're all roughly about 1 inch or so in diameter, and they have stopped growing, but they haven't shrunk. But stopping their growth and making them stable is a marker of progress. So that's a win. In my blood, the testing they did in my blood, I'm not quite where they want me to be. There's a measure called an M spike that it's not quite as low as they want it to be. It should be 0, and it's not 0. It's like 0.139 or something like that. It was like 4.8 when I first started. So great progress, not quite there yet. So the doctors have kind of said this is a very good partial response. So what that means for me is I'm going to stay on this 4-drug chemo, this consolidation chemo, for the next 2 months. And then after that 2 months, I'm going to reduce my dosing down to what they call a maintenance chemo, or what I call a diet chemo. And I'll be on that maintenance chemo essentially for the next 3 years, or unless there's a relapse. If there's a relapse, then everything changes, treatment plans change, medications change, and it's a little bit more unpredictable. But current plan is maintenance for the next 3 years after the next 2 months of continuing what I'm doing now. Now, the doc said also that because my bones are starting to look better, once I go on the maintenance chemo, I can start doing a little bit more strength training. I might even be able to start doing like drilling with BJJ. But the caveat there is, even though my bones are healing well, my immune system will always be compromised. So a few months ago, I had a cold. that turned into bronchitis, that turned into Bell's palsy. Half my face stopped working. I've got this like series of warts on my arm that just are intractable and won't go away. It's because my immune system is having a hard time fighting viruses. That's something that will essentially always be a problem. So one of the things they're doing is starting this month, I'm going to get an IV infusion of antibodies called IVIG. And I'm probably going to get that about once a month. And that will help my body return to a kind of normalish level of immune response, but it'll always be a little bit compromised. So the doc said if I do start drilling with BJJ or training again, I have to be really careful, maybe pick one or two training partners and just some people that I trust that, hey, if they're sick or if they're around people that are sick, they'll let me know. And then maybe I can just find someone else to train with. So that's kind of where I'm at, what the future looks like. One of the things I've been so grateful for with going down to Arkansas, I see a lot of people in my cancer support groups say that going to UAMS saved their life. And for some of them, it was like they were having massive pathologic damage to their body from the cancer. Like they were having spontaneous fractures, their liver and kidney were shutting down, they had metastases through their body, and UAMS helped them in such a way that they stopped the pathologic cancer damage to their body. I want to say that UAMS saved my life in kind of a different way. When I was first diagnosed here in Pittsburgh last January, my doctors were saying things like, I might have 5 or 6 years left. I could be lucky and have 7. They were saying things like I should probably never put a backpack on again. I should never go hiking because the leaf mold might get me sick and kill me. I'll never be able to train with weights again, probably not lift more than 25 or 30 pounds because of the risk of bone damage, never train again. They essentially said my life as I knew it was over, and really kind of sucked the hope from me. The exact opposite is true with the doctors that I've met with down in Arkansas. They've said things to me like, once you're into this degree of remission or MRD negative, they're like, if you like lifting weights, then we should get you back to lifting weights because the reason for all these treatments is so you can live. If you want to go backpacking and hiking with your wife, you should do that because the reason we're doing this is so that you can live. They've really instilled a degree of hope in me that the other doctors I spoke with really kind of sucked away from me. And the mental side of battling this has been much harder than the physical side of battling it. It's not to be underestimated what this does to your mind and your psyche and your emotions. With all that being said, there is no way that we could have done all of this and gotten these treatments and gone down to Arkansas all these times without all of you guys, without your help, your support, your pouring out of love into us, wouldn't have been possible. So I owe you all the deepest thank you from the bottom of my heart. I cherish each of you. So thank you so much. We are on the path to healing. We're on the path to getting to MRD negative. We're on the path to getting to a complete stringent response. We're not there yet, but we're going to keep pushing and we're going to keep driving forward. I think it's important that we lead by a good example and be stronger mentally and emotionally than the circumstances that we're in. And we keep our eyes on the path, keep looking where we want to go, and find something to be grateful for each day. So that's my challenge for you guys today, is find something to be grateful for today. Even if it's something small. There's a lot that we can look at and bitch about. And there's a lot that we could look at and say is hard, is challenging. But you got to find something to look at and hold on to and have gratitude for. Even if it's the fact that you've got running water. Even if it's the fact that you've got a roof over your head. And a lot of people out there that don't have that. So if there's nothing else to be grateful for, you're watching this video on something. You're watching it on a phone. You're watching it on a computer. Be grateful. And until next time, make today great.